You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Park Ranger, Locked On Coogs, Cody Stovall, Locked On Oklahoma State. Cody, you said they're going to play spoiler at Oklahoma State this year in basketball. I'm really hoping that's not Houston, right?
Well, I mean, that would be a great way to kind of kick off the season, but realistically, I don't necessarily see it happening. You know, you and I talked a little bit off air. It's going to take a miraculous shooting event for us to win some of these games in the Big 12. Thus far, we haven't had those. And you just mentioned, outside of a couple scorers, everybody else is more of just, you know, a piece on the floor that helps with spacing and helps with foul trouble and things of that nature. We do go very deep, and we do utilize our bench, I would say more so than most of the Big 12. That's what's going to allow us to go stretches where we're running the floor like a track meet. If it's a half-court set style of game, you guys win by at least the spread. If we can make it ugly, dirty, nasty, and we can kind of create some havoc, that's when we give ourselves an opportunity. And there's going to be days, I don't know if it's going to be this day or next week, but there's going to be days occasionally where we do shoot really well. And those games, I firmly believe we can beat anybody in the country. We just don't have enough shooters to make that a very plausible outcome more often than not.
Well, so you mentioned the crazy style of play, and that's I've watched a little bit, but I really looking more at the stats at this point as we're sitting here talking. I'll probably watch more before Monday night to get myself ready for whatever's about to happen. They are 29th in adjusted tempo, 31st in America, and the length of possession. I mean, they're playing incredibly fast. Yeah. You're saying that's all attributed to the defense. What are they doing on that side of the ball? Like, what's going on over there?
It's just we're really good about sealing off lanes, right? Whenever you have your point guard that has the ability to kind of, get into the lane and dish it out and create open looks on the three-point line, whenever somebody's trying to get to the lane, we're just so active. And we create so many turnovers and fast break opportunities that it's allowing us to kind of stay in some games that we otherwise wouldn't be in. It's havoc. Sometimes we'll pick you up full court. Sometimes we'll try to do a trap, right? A half court trap. Sometimes we'll trail on the point guard and we'll utilize the center a little bit more up top of the key because we have athleticism. We don't have an overabundance of size. It's just, again, chaos. Feed the crazy. And as long as you do that, you give yourself an opportunity. If it becomes a traditional half court where you're running sets and you're having a lot of different play variations, I think that's where it kind of gets troublesome for Oklahoma State. But again, it's not like the Mike Boynton days where we had zero semblance of an offensive half court set, right? We didn't do it. At least with Steve Lutz, you have guys setting screens and multiple picks, and we're trying to utilize the pick and roll occasionally, which are things that we weren't doing under Mike Boynton. So again, is it great? Is it pretty? No, not really, but it can sometimes be effective. And if you get the other team playing on their heels and doing something that they're not accustomed to, then that's when the ugly, dirty, nasty makes it fun, man.
Makes it fun.
That's
so
right.
Talk to me. You mentioned getting into pick and rolls, getting into actions. Like if you're drawing up the ideal Oklahoma State pick and roll, who's setting the screen, who's dribbling the ball, right? What's the look there?
Well, I really like Khalil Brantley. He's a transfer point guard that we have, and he's really somebody that is really good about getting other people involved, right? Kind of the tried and true point guard. Under the Mike Boynton, stretch of coaching, we had some point guards that were good shooters, some good ball handlers, but we really did not have a true facilitator. Khalil Brantley is that. Khalil Brantley is really good about facilitating and getting guys open looks. Now, whether we make the open looks or not is a different story, but we do have the ability in Khalil Brantley, and then we will also spell him when we're trying to go more defensive-oriented with Arturo Dean. Arturo Dean came to Oklahoma State leading the country last season in steals, and he's kind of been able to carry that over at Oklahoma State. He can shoot occasionally, but again, it's just not super effective. But if you're looking at somebody that you have to slow down to get us out of our offense, it's going to be Khalil Brantley. And then from a shooting perspective, everybody remembers Bryce Thompson, right? The big 5-star blue chip All-American, went to KU. He broke his wrist his freshman year after starting a little bit. Then he comes to Oklahoma State, and it hasn't really gone to fruition, right? There's no way that anybody in Oklahoma State country could have projected Bryce Thompson coming to Oklahoma State and he's above average, right? But he's not the spot-up shooter that could drop 40 points like he could in high school. He's just not that guy. The only two scorers that we have on a reliable daily basis is going to be Bryce Thompson and Marcellus Chichi Avery, who came over from UCF. But even those guys are hit and miss. Like the other day, we were like 2 for 16 beyond the 3-point line. That's not going to win you many ball games.
Well, it's certainly not if you shoot 16 of them. I guess like shooting 1 out of 8 is a lot different at that point. You said Chichi Avery's from UCF. He's been everywhere. He's also was at New Mexico State. He's bounced around a little bit. Classic, modern college basketball kind of transfer around the horn a little bit. And Bryce Thompson, the guy that started off at Kansas, he is averaging, over 10 points a game still. I don't mean to say he's not impactful, but you had to have been expecting, if you ever told you're going to have a 5-year guy that started off as a 5-star at Kansas, more than 10 points and 3 rebounds, right? Like that's not quite what you thought you were getting, I wouldn't imagine.
Well, and it's a little bit of a dip last year. I think going into his injury, the last week and a half or two of the season, he was averaging over 13 and a half a game. So it's a little bit of a dip from last season. But I will admit the consistency is a little bit better from Bryce Thompson. His shot mechanics have improved. I wouldn't say dramatically, but enough to be effective. And then again, Marcellus Chichi Avery, he's dropped, 20 burgers a couple times this season. So if you have days where Chichi gets hot and Bryce Thompson gets hot, it's going to be an issue for people. Now, inside, we do have Abu Usman, who came over from Xavier, which you guys have some familiarity with. And we also have Jennings, a transfer from Texas Tech, that are both going to be guys who are designed to bang down low. They're not going to do a lot. They're not going to score a lot. They're not going to, facilitate or get really heavy in the rebound game. But they're bodies that accentuate the abilities that we do have at the guard position. We're a guard-heavy squad. Chichi Avery has the ability to put up 20, 25, 22 points here and there, as does Bryce Thompson. So the games that those two get hot together, we're going to have the ability to win those ball games more often than not.
So talk to me, because obviously as a fan and an analyst that watches them very closely, you're high optimistic. You said you like the coaching hire. But it's not like this team is a Final Four favorite and push. They've had games. They lost to Oklahoma this year. They also lost to FAU, who I'd argue is a sneaky team, right? I don't mean to say that they're not. Nevada is probably a tournament team. I don't mean to say those are bad losses. And like I said, you did get the winning game in the Big 12 Big East Challenge. What's gone
again, Parker?
What's gone wrong for them when things have gone wrong? Is it just the shooting? Is it something like what's gone wrong?
Yeah, just shooting droughts, right? Against FAU specifically, we went almost 6 minutes without scoring a bucket. And against Miami, we had some of those same spells, but thankfully Miami had some of the same issues as well, so it allowed us to get the W there. We've had a couple impressive performances, but more often than not, it's just been kind of a, old school bloody contest. You mentioned OU. OU has what we don't have, and I don't say that. I don't like saying that. Okay, I hate giving OU props for anything. But
my bad. I didn't mean to make you do that. I shouldn't have made you do that.
Athletically, I was like, okay, we match up. Defensively, okay, we match up. They have spot up shooters that could not miss. That is the biggest missing component to this team. And the two guys that you seem to try to rely on for that, they're streaky shooters. And we go 4 minutes, 5 minutes, occasionally without scoring a bucket, and it just it's a hole that we dig ourselves in that we're having a hard time getting out of.
Well, and so obviously is the fix there just because it's just personnel, it's just getting the recruits in. It's not a fix I necessarily need to be worried about by Monday night, right? That's harder to fix than that fast.
Yeah, no, there's again, we are what we are at this point in time. And we're a team that is very gritty. We're very hustle-oriented. We like to make it fast. We like to get up and down the court, turn it into a track meet, and get you off of your game. That's it. Like there's no magic sprinkled dust on how successful we can be unless we're able to shut teams down. So it's all off of defense. We're okay with the 4 or 5 minutes without scoring occasionally because we're usually pretty good defensively. What happened in the OU game was every time we'd go in a drought, they'd hit 3 or 4 threes, and that extends the game so much that it's hard to combat that. That, and there was like 58 fouls or something.
That's a lot of fouls.
Yeah, dude. It was frustrating.
I know y'all don't like each other. You have to fight on the floor. You don't like each other.
Well, I have a suggestion. All right. I think that just to entice eyeballs, that the loser of tip should get punched in the jaw. That would make the tip-off of every game significantly more exciting. If you lose, you get socked in the face.
I like it. How about you go with this? You go at any point in the game, though, so you don't know when it's happening. Like it's not immediate.
Every tip-off. Every tip-off.
Right. We're not going to sock anyone in the jaw, I don't think, today. But you mentioned about getting guys off their game. I'm going to let Cody ask some questions about Houston because I've hogged the interview and the back and forth a little bit too much. Before we get to that, Cody's going to tell you a little bit about our buddies over at FanDuel. Cody.
That's right, buddy. Hammering the over this season for college football has probably been difficult, especially if you're an Oklahoma State fan and Houston as well. But the NFL action is here, and there's no better time for you to get squared away with the number one sports book in America, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with 250 bones back in bonus bets if your first $5 hauler is a winner. FanDuel is the best way for you to pick up a W, especially with the NFL action as it continues to get closer to the end of the season. This is your opportunity. As Cowboy fans, we've got to see what Tyreek Hill can continue to do. Tylan Wallace is going to make moves, and you need to take this opportunity to capitalize on your monetary gains. Make sure you go to FanDuel.com today. That is FanDuel.com. Go there today for your chance at 250 bones back in bonus bets with a $5 winner. Make every moment matter more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL.